guys, it's me again for another countries video. So yeah, today we're on Luxembourg, which I'm sure not many of you have actually heard of, as it's kind of like a city-state, kind of in the middle of Europe kind of thing, which between like Belgium, Germany, and France. So yeah. So yeah, we've only about 576,000 people living, calling it home. So yeah, here we go with the video and see how it goes, and time's a little bit short. Starting off with the history as usual. And it's because it's kind of been around since Luxembourg has been around since Roman times, as it was a part of the province of Belgica prior, and later it was included in the kingdom of Austrasia, which is Frankish, but soon after of Charlemagne's empire. Count Conrad, nice name by the way, was the founder of the House of Luxembourg. Came into power in 1060, 6 years before the famous Battle of Hastings. And from the 14th to 16th century, the House of Luxembourg gave the Holy Roman Empire for all of its rulers before the Habsburg dynasty took over. In the succeeding centuries, Luxembourg was alternatively subjugated by not France. You'd think it would be France, considering they're kind of like a neighbour to them, but no. By Spain and Austria, both of whom have no borders with Luxembourg today. And as the Napoleon Wars came to a close in 1815, the Congress of Vienna declared Luxembourg a Grand Duchy and appointed William I of the Netherlands to be the ruler. But in 1830 a revolt sparked and led by the Belgian provinces, and a year later Belgium became an autonomous kingdom, while Luxembourg remained as only a part of it. And by 1839, Luxembourg's western territory was surrendered to Belgium, and the west was established as an independent state. And it was more than likely peaceful after that for a while, until August 1914, where Germany decided to go take over and use it to get to France with. And yeah, I don't think the Germans left until like 1918. And in 1920, Luxembourg became a part of the League of Nations, and during the Second World War, the Germans invaded Luxembourg yet again. And Charlotte, who was the reigning monarch at the time, went to London and founded the government in exile. And in 1942, Germany declared that Luxembourg was a member of the Third Reich. And 2 years later, the country's allied military forces liberated Luxembourg, and civilian control was re-established. And a year later, in 1945, Luxembourg became an official member of the United Nations. I really should stop eating them. Moving on to language. Now, French and German are spoken in Luxembourg that there's also a language called Luxembourgish, which is Luxembourgish, which is a Marcel Franconian dialect, and is a mother tongue of like most Luxembourgers. And in the 1984 languages law bestowed it on the status of a national language. And Luxembourgish is one of the administrative languages, as well as French and German. And according to the provisions of the Languages Law of 1984, the three languages of the Grand Duchy, Luxembourgish, French and German, are the languages used in the administration and the judiciary system. It is like moderate by provision in the law, like Article 3, according to which three languages are to be used as far as possible, and French nevertheless remains a language of legislation under Article 2, and since the latter is based on the French Napoleonic Code, and the law therefore maintains the historic importance of both German and French. And by maintaining the historic importance of foreign languages, the Grand Duchy has continued to stand as a meeting place, as the trianglism makes it easy for foreigners to integrate, foreign people to Luxembourg to integrate, as, let's face it, French and German are two of the most common languages that are being taught in schools, along with Spanish, as they also live in the Grand Duchy using French or German, and thus represents the openness of the Grand Duchy to the outside world. And although French has developed into lingua franca, Luxembourg is still a language of integration, and the Grand Ducal Regulation of July 30th, 1999, reform official spelling of Luxembourgish, as well as in the Grand Duchy. Luxembourgish is also spoken in the eastern province of Luxembourg in Belgium, and northwestern of the Marseille department in France, and along the border between the Grand Duchy and Germany. Yes, moving on to a legend I found about Luxembourg. Is a legend of beautiful Melusina, the ancestress of Luxembourg counts. So yeah, so out of all of them, she was maybe this was probably the only one that I could find that could actually make sense. So sorry. So yeah. So many hundreds of years ago, there was a noble knight called Count Siegfried, who lived at Corrich Castle. And once he lost his way while hunting, and towards the evening he found himself in a narrow, deep and wild overgrown valley. And this valley of Alzette, at the place where today the suburbs of Luxembourg City blend with the cliffs and all that. And rising before him, the Count could see a sheer rock cliff, and upon which stood the ruins of an ancient Roman castle. And but suddenly there was the sounds of a wonderful singing fell upon the startled knight's ears, and after listening for some time, the Count hurried in the direction of the sounds were coming from, and soon he discovered the man sitting among the castle's ruins, and captivated by the beauty of the one singing, he stood still, as it was Melusina, the Nixia of Alcete, and with a fixed gaze, Siegfried stared at the otherworldly vision, and seeing a handsome knight, the maiden covered her face with a green veil and then disappeared with the last rays of the evening sun. When overcome with fatigue, Count Siegfried lay down beneath a tree and fell asleep. And the next morning, the song of the bird woke him from a blissful dream. And he got up and followed the river, and he soon found himself in the familiar vicinity of Wearmouth Church, and from there he turned straight away to his homeland. No, but the vision of the maiden and the singing had captivated the Count's soul, and he often returned to the place, now very dear to him, in order to see her and hear her again. But once he met her in the valley, she took pleasure in the Count's visits, and she had fallen in love with a handsome knight. And he rushed towards her, declaring his love for her, and asked her to become his wife. And she consented under the condition that she will not be required to leave the cliffs, and that he would never be asked to see her on Saturdays when she wished to be alone. And under oath the Count promised it to her, and because it would have taken years of time and great expense to build a castle on the rocky cliffs where he could take Melusina as his wife, Siegfried gladly accepted the help of Satan, who offered to build the castle for him and make him exceedingly wealthy if the Count would surrender himself after 30 years. At the top of the cliff, a magnificent castle appeared overnight, and probably looking down on the valley below. Siegfried married the Melusina and lived happily with her, as Melusina presented him with 7 children. Having that many children over these days maybe a bit much, but back then it was normal to have so many children. However, every Saturday the Nixie remained hidden from all eyes, retiring to her room and locking her door. And this proceeded for many long years without her husband asking her what she was doing on those days. However, his friends, who had learned about the situation, planted seeds of distrust in the court and the Count against his good wife. And now, at any price, Siegfried wanted to know why Melusina withdrew from him every Saturday. And the next Saturday he secretly approached her room. From inside he could hear the sound of rushing and splashing water. Looking into the room through the keyhole, he saw his wife in a bathtub, combing her long blonde hair with a golden comb. Her beautiful limbs ended with a horrible fish tail, with which she was splashing waves. The Count uttered a cry of horror. At the same moment, Melusina sank into the depths of the cliffs, and Siegfried lost her forever. And they say that the nurse who was caring for Siegfried's and Melusina's youngest child often saw a white figure enter the room at night and rock the child to sleep. And for this reason, when Luxembourg was still a fortress, sentry duty was so feared that even the bravest soldiers were terrified when they had to keep watch at night. And one time a courageous soldier who had traded shifts with a comrade was standing guard on the cliff top between 12 o'clock and 2 o'clock in the night. Melusina appeared to him in the form of a beautiful maiden and asked him to redeem her. So she told him that it would be a difficult but not impossible task. However, he should not attempt it if he thought he might not succeed, because if he failed, she would sink 3 times deeper into the earth. While she was thus speaking, there arose a mighty rumbling sound around the cliffs, causing the soldier to fear that they were about to collapse. And the soldier promised to fulfill Melusina's wish, whatever he might have to do. She said that for the 9 following days, At exactly 12 o'clock, neither 1 minute earlier nor 1 minute later would he have to appear behind the altar of the Dominican church. After he had done this 9 times, on the 10th evening she would appear to him in the form of a fiery serpent with a key in her mouth. And with his mouth he would have to take the key from her mouth and then throw it into the Alzette River, which would accomplish her redemption. This act would also restore the Roman castle atop of the hill in its former state. On the 8th night the soldiers stood behind the appointed altar at precisely 12 o'clock, but on the 9th night he arrived late. Returning to his quarter, he heard such howling and screeching coming from the cliffs that he thought all the wild animals were fighting one another in the air. However, no other person had heard the noise. It's also said that whenever Luxembourg city is threatened by danger or mishap, Melusina circles the cliffs while crying out mournfully. Whilst even to this day, Melusina has not been redeemed, waiting until Luxembourg city, if she is not someday redeemed. She'll redeemed only when she finishes the shirt that she was working on, gathering flax from the naked cliffs and adding 1 stitch every 7 years, which she appears on the cliffs. However, the ruins of the city will serve as her gravestone. So yeah, it's very interesting. So yeah, sorry it's a little short compared to some, but it's a bit like there really isn't much I could find on Luxembourg. And sorry for those in Luxembourg when you see that countries like France get 4 parts. So yeah, I'll see you all later on for the news, and yeah. I'm gonna say au revoir for now, and danke for watching. So yeah.